The great chamber of the Galactic Council floated in the darkness of space. The station called Axiom Prime was the largest structure ever built by the 12 ruling species of the galaxy. Its metal walls stretched for hundreds of kilometers. Its lights could be seen from distant planets. For 3,000 years, this place had been the center of all power. Today, like every other day, the council members sat in their tall chairs arranged in a circle. Each chair was different, built to fit the strange bodies of each alien species. Some had 4 arms, some had scales. Some breathed gases that would kill others in seconds. But they all shared one thing. They all believed they were superior to every other creature in the universe. High Speaker Varel sat in the tallest chair. His skin was pale blue, and his eyes were completely black. He had led the council for 200 years. In all that time, no one had dared to question his decisions. His word was law. His judgment was final. Before we continue with today's matters, Varel said, his voice echoing through the chamber, I wish to share something amusing. He waved one of his 4 hands, and a holographic image appeared in the center of the room. It showed a small spacecraft, primitive and ugly compared to the sleek ships of the council races. The recording was old. The image flickered and jumped. 50 years ago, Varel said with a thin smile, these creatures sent us this message. A human face appeared on the hologram. It was a young woman with dark hair and hopeful eyes. She spoke slowly and carefully. We are humans from the planet Earth. We come in peace. We wish to join the Galactic Council and share in the prosperity of all species. We offer our friendship, and our Vorel cut off the recording. Laughter filled the chamber. The alien counselors found this very funny. The idea that humans, those weak and short-lived mammals from a small planet, could ever be equals, was hilarious to them. Friendship, Varel repeated, making the word sound like a joke. These primitives thought they could sit among us. They thought their tiny ships and simple minds made them worthy. More laughter. But not everyone was laughing. Counselor Tivon sat quietly in his chair. His species was known for their wisdom and their caution. While others laughed, Tivon felt something cold in his stomach. He had studied humans for many years. He knew something the others did not seem to understand. High Speaker, Tivon said when the laughter died down. I must raise a concern. Varel looked annoyed. What is it now, Tivon? Another warning about some minor species? The humans, Tivon said carefully. Our scouts report that their border colonies have gone silent. No communications. No trade ships. Nothing. Perhaps they finally killed themselves, someone joked. More laughter. There is more, Tivon continued. Trade vessels passing near their system have reported something strange. Massive structures in orbit around their planets. They appear to be shipyards. Very large shipyards. Vorel waved his hand dismissively. The humans are contained. They live in their little quarantine zone because we allow it. They build their little ships because we permit it. They are nothing, High Speaker. 3 years ago, we authorized the destruction of their colony world. New Busan, they called it. 2 million of them died. Since that day, they have said nothing. Done nothing. Does that not concern you? The chamber grew quieter. A few counselors shifted uncomfortably in their seats. It concerns me only that you waste our time with this, Varel snapped. The humans were punished for expanding beyond their permitted zone. They learned their lesson. They are silent because they are afraid, as they should be. Tivon wanted to argue more, but he knew it was useless. He had made this argument before. No one ever listened. Very well, Varel said, turning back to the main display. Let us move on to important matters. The trade dispute between a door burst open. A young officer ran into the chamber, his face pale with terror. He belonged to the same species as Commander Draxus, the military leader of the hegemony forces. His scales were usually bright green, but now they were almost white. High Speaker. The officer gasped. Forgive the interruption, but this is unacceptable. Varel stood, his black eyes blazing with anger. No one enters this chamber without permission. Guards, please. High Speaker. The long-range sensors. We have detected a fleet. The chamber went silent. A fleet. Varel sat back down slowly. What fleet? From where? The officer's hands were shaking as he activated his portable display. A map of the galaxy appeared above his head. A red dot was moving across the map, coming closer and closer to Council space. The signature is human. High speaker. The fleet is human. Someone laughed nervously. How many ships? 10, 20. We have thousands of warships. Let them come. The officer did not answer immediately. His scales had turned even paler. How many? Varel demanded. Over 10,000 ships, High Speaker. They will reach Council space within 6 hours. The chamber erupted into chaos. Counselors shouted over each other. Some demanded immediate military response. Others called for evacuation. Varel sat frozen in his chair, unable to believe what he had heard. 10,000 ships. It was impossible. Humans had been watched, monitored, contained. They could not have built such a fleet in secret. It simply could not be true. Tivon stood and walked to the center of the chamber. He raised his hand, and slowly the noise died down. When he spoke, his voice was heavy with sadness. 3 years ago, I played you a recording. It was from their ambassador, a woman named Hannah Choi. She sent it the day after we destroyed New Busan. I begged you all to listen. I begged you to take it seriously. You laughed at me, just as you laughed at them. He activated his own display. A woman's face appeared. She was no longer young. Her face was scarred, burned by the weapons that had destroyed her world. Her eyes were empty of all hope, all mercy, all fear. You have made your choice, the woman said calmly. We will make ours. You taught us that this galaxy has no room for peace. We have learned. We have prepared. And when we come, there will be no warnings. No negotiations. No mercy. You made us into this. Remember that when your worlds burn. The recording ended. The chamber was completely silent. In the distance, beyond the range of their sensors, 10,000 human warships raced through the darkness. And on the bridge of the flagship Eternal Dawn, Admiral Taiho Kong watched the stars blur past and thought of his dead wife and children. The silence was over. Thunder was coming. The bridge of the Eternal Dawn was quiet. Only the soft hum of engines and the gentle beeping of computers broke the silence. Hundreds of officers sat at their stations, their eyes fixed on screens filled with numbers and maps. But no one spoke. No one needed to. Admiral Taiho Kong stood at the center of the bridge, his hands clasped behind his back. He was 53 years old, but he looked older. His hair had turned gray in a single night 3 years ago. His eyes, once warm and full of laughter, were now cold and empty. Those who knew him before said he died on New Busan along with his family. What remained was something else, something harder, something dangerous, through the massive window in front of him. Taiho watched the stars stretch and blur as the ship traveled faster than light. Behind the Eternal Dawn, 10,342 warships followed in perfect formation. It was the largest fleet ever assembled by humanity. It was the weapon that would change the galaxy forever. Captain Unipark approached the admiral. She was young for her rank, only 35, but she had earned her position through skill and courage. Her black hair was pulled back tight, and her uniform was perfect. She had served under Taiho for 5 years. She had watched him transform from a good man into something terrifying. Admiral, she said softly, all ships report ready. Weapons charged. Crews at battle stations. We will exit faster than light travel in 4 hours. Taiho nodded but did not turn around. In the crew's mood? Determined, sir. Angry. They remember New Busan. They all lost someone.
Oh.
Everyone had lost someone. That was why they were here. Taiho closed his eyes, and for a moment, he was back on that terrible day. He remembered the sky turning red. He remembered the alien ships appearing without warning. He remembered running through the streets with his wife Minji and their 2 children, Sumin and Jiwoo. He remembered the fire falling from the sky. Like rain, He remembered holding his daughter's hand as the building collapsed. He remembered waking up alone in the ruins. Surrounded by 2 million corpses, the council had called it pest control. They had laughed about it in their great chamber. They had celebrated the death of human children with drinks and jokes. Taiho had learned this from captured communications. He had read the transcripts 1,000 times. Now he would give them something to remember. "Captain," he said, opening his eyes, "tell me about our weapons." "The new ones." Yuna pulled up a display. "We have successfully improved all the alien technology we captured over the years. Our shields are now 40% stronger than the best hegemony warships. Our plasma cannons have twice the range. And the new gravity bombs?" She paused. Even she, hardened by war, found it difficult to talk about the gravity bombs. "The gravity bombs work as designed," she continued. "They create a small point of infinite density. Anything within 5 kilometers is crushed into a space smaller than an atom. There is no defense. There is no escape." Taiho nodded. "Good." Lieutenant Minho Beek looked up from his weapons station. He was the youngest officer on the bridge, only 26, but he was the best gunner in the fleet. His hands never shook. His aim never failed. Some people were born to create. Minho was born to destroy. "Sir," Minho said, "permission to speak freely." "Granted. Do you think they know we're coming?" "The council, I mean. Do you think they're afraid?" Taiho finally turned around. He looked at his young officer with those cold, dead eyes. 3 years ago, Ambassador Choi sent them a warning. She told them exactly what we would do. They laughed at her. They called her a primitive animal. He walked slowly across the bridge, his boots clicking on the metal floor. They have lived in comfort for 3,000 years. They have never faced a real enemy. They bomb helpless colonies and call it war. They murder children and call it peace. He stopped in front of the main window. "No, Lieutenant, they do not know fear, but they will learn." The hours passed slowly. Officers checked and rechecked their systems. Some prayed to gods they were not sure existed. Others wrote final letters to loved ones back on Earth. Everyone knew that some of them would not survive the coming battle, but no one considered turning back. Ambassador Hannah Choi entered the bridge. Her face was scarred, one eye covered by a patch, her left arm replaced by a mechanical one. She had barely survived New Busan. Sometimes late at night she wished she had not survived. But she had a purpose now. She had a reason to live. "Admiral," she said, "I have prepared the surrender terms to broadcast to the council. Do you think they will accept?" Hannah laughed, but there was no humor in it. "No, they are too proud. Too stupid. They will fight, and they will lose, and they will die. But we must offer them the chance. History must show that we tried." Taiho looked at her for a long moment. They understood each other. They had both lost everything. They had both been reborn in fire and pain. They were no longer the people they used to be. Taiho said quietly. "My daughter wanted to be a pilot. She was only 8 years old, but she had already memorized every ship in the fleet. She used to make little models out of paper and fly them around the house." Hannah said nothing. There was nothing to say. "I dream about her sometimes," Taiho continued. "She asks me why the aliens killed her. She asks me what she did wrong. And I have no answer. I never have an answer." He turned back to the window. The stars were slowing down. They were almost there. "But I can give her justice. I can make sure no human child ever dies like that again, even if I have to burn the entire galaxy to do it." The ship shuddered as it dropped out of faster-than-light travel. Through the window, the lights of Axiom Prime became visible, tiny but growing larger. Around it, thousands of alien warships scrambled into defensive formation. Taiho opened a channel to the entire fleet. His voice was calm and steady. "This is Admiral Kang. We have arrived. Somewhere out there, 10 billion aliens are waking up to the worst day of their lives. They do not know it yet, but their empire ends today. Their arrogance ends today. Their cruelty ends today." He paused, letting his words sink in. "For New Busan, for every human they called vermin, for every child they murdered while the council laughed, Today, they learn what happens when you push humanity too far. He lowered his hand. All ships prepare for battle. The fleet moved forward like a wave of death, and the galaxy would never be the same. Panic spread through Axiom Prime like fire through dry grass. The great station that had stood for 3,000 years was now filled with screaming voices and running feet. Sirens wailed. Lights flashed red. Officers shouted orders that no one followed in the council chamber. High Speaker Varel stood frozen before the massive display screen. The human fleet filled the entire image. Ship after ship after ship, arranged in perfect rows, their weapons glowing with deadly energy. It was impossible. It could not be real. But it was. How? Varel whispered. How did they build this without us knowing? Counselor Tivon stood beside him, his old face heavy with sorrow. We stopped watching them after New Busan. We thought they were broken. We thought they would spend their time mourning and rebuilding. We never considered that they would use those 3 years to prepare for war. But 10,000 ships. Our spies should have seen something. What spies? We killed their colonies and closed their borders. No one has been inside human space for 3 years. We assumed they were dying. Instead, they were growing. Commander Draxus burst into the chamber, his green scales bright with confidence. He was tall and strong with muscles built for combat. He had led the hegemony military for 30 years and had never lost a battle. Of course, he had never fought humans before, High Speaker, Draxus announced loudly. I have assembled our defensive fleet, 3,000 warships, the finest in the galaxy. These human insects may outnumber us, but they are primitive creatures with primitive technology. We will crush them in ours. Vorel grabbed onto this hope like a drowning man grabs a rope. Yes, of course. Our technology is superior. Our warriors are stronger. Numbers mean nothing against true power. Tivon shook his head. Commander, I urge caution. We know nothing about their current capabilities. 3 years is a long time. They may have what? Draxus laughed. Built better ships than the Council? Developed weapons stronger than ours. Impossible. They are mammals. They live for less than a century. What could they possibly create that would threaten us? He did not wait for an answer. He turned and marched out of the chamber, ready to lead his fleet to what he believed would be an easy victory. 20 minutes later, Draxus sat on the bridge of his flagship, the Conqueror, and watched his fleet move into attack formation. The human ships waited in the distance, silent and still. They did not advance. They did not retreat. They just waited. Strange, his second officer muttered. They are not moving. They are afraid, Draxus said with satisfaction. They see our warships, and they know they cannot win. Perhaps they are hoping we will offer mercy. He opened a channel to his fleet. All ships, attack. Show these humans the true power of the hegemony. 3,000 alien warships surged forward, their engines blazing, their weapons charging. They had conquered 100 worlds together. They had never been defeated. The human fleet waited until the aliens were halfway across the gap between them. Then, Admiral Taiho Kong gave a single command. Fire. 10,000 ships fired at once. The darkness of space became bright as daylight. Plasma bolts and laser beams and missiles streaked across the void in a solid wall of destruction. The alien shields, the best in the galaxy, lasted for approximately 2 seconds. Commander Draxus watched in horror as his ships exploded around him. The human weapons cut through hegemony armor like knives through water. Ships that had survived 100 battles were destroyed in moments. In less than 5 minutes, half of his fleet was gone. Impossible, he screamed. Impossible. Our shields, our weapons. How are they doing this? His second officer was crying. Their technology, Commander, it is not primitive. It is beyond anything we have ever seen. They did not just copy our weapons. They improved them. On Axiom Prime, the Council watched the battle through their display screens. No one spoke. No one could speak. They were watching the death of everything they believed. Varel's blue face had turned almost white. Contact them, he croaked. Contact the humans. We must negotiate. They are not responding to any communications, an officer reported. Then, suddenly, the main screen flickered. A woman's face appeared. It was Ambassador Hannah Choi. Her scars were clearly visible under the harsh lights of the human ship. Her mechanical arm gleamed silver. Her one remaining eye stared at the council with absolute hatred. "Hi, Speaker Varel," she said calmly. "Do you remember me?" Varel's mouth opened and closed, but no words came out. 3 years ago, I stood before your council and begged for peace. I asked you to stop treating humans as animals. I asked you to give us a chance. Do you remember what you said? Varel still could not speak. Said that humans would make good slaves once we learned our place. You said that New Busan was just the beginning? You said that if we complained again, you would burn Earth itself. Hannah leaned closer to the camera. We did not complain. We prepared. We worked. We built. And now we have come to deliver your lesson. Counselor Tivon stepped forward. Ambassador Choi, please. This destruction serves no one. Let us discuss terms. We can find a peaceful solution. Hannah looked at him for a long moment. You were the only one who voted against the attack on New Busan, I remember. You tried to warn them. You tried to save us. Tivon nodded hopefully. Right. It does not matter, Hannah said. Your one vote did not stop 2 million people from dying. Your words did not save my family. Your wisdom did not protect human children from being burned alive. She straightened up. Here are humanity's terms. Unconditional surrender. Every council species will disarm completely. Every council leader will face trial for crimes against humanity. Every world that supported the New Busan attack will pay compensation. These terms are not negotiable. Brel finally found his voice. You cannot be serious. We are the Galactic Council. We have ruled this galaxy for 3,000 years. We will not surrender to primitive. Choose your next words carefully, High Speaker. They may be your last. Varel's pride was stronger than his fear. He had never surrendered in his life. He would not start now. The Council rejects your terms, he declared. We will fight to the last ship. You will never defeat us. Hannah smiled. It was the coldest smile anyone in the chamber had ever seen. Thank you for your answer, she said. It makes everything simpler. The screen went dark. In the distance, the human fleet began to move forward, and the Council learned what fear truly meant. Admiral Taiho Kong stood motionless on the bridge of the Eternal Dawn. Through the window, he could see the alien station Axiom Prime growing larger with every passing second. Around it, the remnants of the hegemony fleet were trying to regroup, but they were broken and confused. Admiral, Captain Unipark said quietly, they have refused our terms. I expected nothing less. What are your orders, sir? Taiho was silent for a moment. He thought about his wife, Mingi, who had loved flowers and laughter. He thought about his son, Suman, who had dreamed of exploring new planets. He thought about his daughter, Jiwoo, who had wanted to fly among the stars. They had been innocent. They had done nothing wrong, and they had been murdered by creatures who considered them less than animals. Annihilation protocol, Taiho said. His voice was flat and empty. No survivors. The order spread through the fleet in seconds. 10,000 ships received it. 10,000 captains acknowledged it. 10,000 crews prepared to carry it out. Lieutenant Minho Beek's fingers moved across his weapons console. Gravity bombs armed and ready, Admiral. Plasma lances at full power. Swarm drones standing by. Target the station's shield generators first, then the engine sections. I want them unable to run before they understand they are going to die. Understood, sir. The Eternal Dawn surged forward, leading the attack. Behind her, wave after wave of human warships followed. They moved with perfect coordination, each ship knowing exactly where to go and what to do. 3 years of preparation, 3 years of training, 3 years of building the greatest military force humanity had ever created. Now it was time to use it. The first gravity bombs struck the alien defensive platforms. These were massive structures, each one larger than a city, armed with weapons that could destroy planets. They had protected the Council for centuries. They lasted approximately 30 seconds. The gravity bombs created points of infinite density that pulled everything nearby into them. Metal screamed as it was crushed. Aliens died without even having time to scream. Where the defensive platforms had stood, only small black dots remained, swallowing light itself. Captain Yuna watched through the window, her face pale but determined. She remembered her older brother, who had been a teacher on New Busan. He had been showing his students pictures of Earth animals when the bombs fell. His last message to her had been a joke about how his students thought dogs were the strangest creatures in the universe. She had never found his body. All forward batteries. Fire on the station's shield generators, she commanded. The Eternal Dawn's weapons opened up. Plasma lances beams of energy hotter than the surface of a star sliced through space. They hit the station's shields and impossibly began to push through. The aliens had built their shields to resist anything the galaxy could throw at them. They had not considered what humans could create when properly motivated. On the bridge of the Conqueror, Commander Draxus watched his fleet dying around him. More than 2/3 of his ships were gone. The survivors were scattering, trying to run, but the human swarm drones hunted them down. These drones were small, no bigger than a person, but they were fast and deadly. They attached themselves to fleeing ships and burrowed through their holes like metal insects. "We have to retreat," his second officer screamed. "Commander, we cannot win this fight." Draxus knew this was true. He had known it from the moment he saw his first ships explode. But he had never retreated in his life. He had built his reputation on victory. "Set course for the outer systems," he ordered, his voice shaking. "Maximum speed. We will regroup an enemy ship targeting us, Commander." Draxus looked up at his screen. A human destroyer was moving toward him. It was smaller than his flagship, but it moved with deadly purpose. On that destroyer, Lieutenant Minho Beak sat at his weapons console. His commanding officer had given him a special target. Admiral Kang himself had approved it. Commander Draxus had been the one who gave the final order to bomb New Busan. The missiles that killed 2 million humans had been launched from ships under his command. "Target locked," Minho said quietly. Firing. The plasma lance hit the Conqueror's engines first, stopping any chance of escape. The second shot destroyed the shields. The third shot tore through the hull, opening the ship to the vacuum of space. Commander Draxus had time for one final thought before the cold and darkness took him. He thought about how wrong he had been. He thought about how these primitive mammals had destroyed everything he believed in. Then he thought nothing at all. Back on Axiom Prime, alarms were screaming in every corridor. The station's shields were failing section by section. Escape pods were launching by the hundreds, but human ships destroyed most of them before they could get far. Swarm drones invaded the station itself, hunting through corridors and chambers. High Speaker Varel ran through the chaos, his forearms pushing aside anyone in his way. He had to reach his private shuttle. He had to escape. He could not die here. Not like this. Not at the hands of creatures he had called vermin. But when he reached his shuttle bay, he found humans waiting for him. Soldiers in black armor, their faces hidden behind helmets, their weapons pointed at his chest. "High Speaker Varel," one of them said through a translator device. "You are under arrest for crimes against humanity. You will stand trial for the murder of 2 million civilians." Vorel fell to his knees. For the first time in 200 years, he begged, "Please, please, I will give you anything. Territories, resources, power. Just let me live." The soldier looked down at him. "Did the children of New Busan beg? Did you listen?" Varel had no answer. The soldiers dragged him away as the station burned around them, in a small room deep within Axiom Prime. Counselor Tivon watched through a window as his world ended. Human ships filled the sky, firing without pause. The great station that had stood for 3,000 years was coming, apart piece by piece. His communication device chirped. Someone was calling him. He answered. Ambassador Hannah Choi's face appeared on the screen. "Counselor Tivon, Ambassador, have you come to kill me as well?" Hannah studied him for a long moment. "You voted against the attack on New Busan. You warned them what would happen. You tried to stop this. I failed. Yes, you did." Hannah paused. "But you tried. That means something, Even now. Tivon waited. "You will not die today," Hannah said, "but you will watch. You will witness what your council's arrogance has brought. You will live to remember this day forever." Why? Because someone must tell the truth. Someone must explain to future generations why this happened. Someone must carry the shame. Hannah reached toward her screen. "Watch carefully, counselor. Watch the price of cruelty." The transmission ended, and through his window, Tivon watched the final shields of Axiom Prime flicker and die. 6 months had passed since the Battle of Axiom Prime. The galaxy had changed forever, where the Great Council Station once floated. There was now only debris. Billions of pieces of twisted metal drifted through space. A permanent reminder of what had happened when the galaxy pushed humanity too far. The 12 species that had ruled for 3,000 years were now scattered and broken. Their fleets were destroyed. Their leaders were dead or imprisoned. Their empire was gone. In its place, something new had risen. Humanity called it the Human Dominion on Earth. In a great hall that had been built specifically for this purpose, Admiral Taiho Kong stood before a crowd of billions. Some were there in person. Most watched through screens across 100 worlds. This was the day of judgment. This was the day the old galaxy officially ended. 2 soldiers dragged High Speaker Varel into the hall. He was thin now, weakened by months of imprisonment. His once proud blue skin was pale and covered in marks of fear. His forearms hung limply at his sides. His black eyes, which had once looked down on every other species with contempt, were now filled with terror. The soldiers threw him to the ground before Admiral Taiho. "High Speaker Varel," Taiho said, his voice echoing through the hall. "Former leader of the Galactic Council? Do you know why you are here?" Varel lifted his head. He tried to find some of his old pride, but it was gone. I know. Tell them. Tell everyone watching." Varel's voice was barely a whisper. "For New Busan. For the 2 million humans who died." Taiho nodded slowly. He raised his hand, and a massive screen appeared behind him. Images began to play. The colony of New Busan before the attack. Happy families walking through green parks. Children playing in schoolyards. Markets filled with laughter and life. Then the attack. The alien ships appearing without warning. The bombs falling like rain. Buildings collapsing. People running, screaming, dying. Fires spreading through the streets. Bodies everywhere. 2 million people turned to ash and memory in a single day. The images finally stopped on one last picture. A small girl with black hair and bright eyes, holding a paper model of a spaceship. She was smiling at the camera. "This was my daughter," Taiho said quietly. Her name was Ji Woo. She was 8 years old. She wanted to be a pilot. She wanted to see the stars. He looked down at Varel. "Your ships killed her. Your bombs burned her body. Your councils celebrated her death." Varel began to cry. "Please, please, I was wrong. I see that now. I will do anything. I will serve you. You will die." Taiho drew his sidearm. He did not hurry. He did not hesitate. He simply raised the weapon and fired once. Varel's body fell to the floor and did not move. The hall was silent. Taiho holstered his weapon and turned to face the screens, face the galaxy. "Let this be a lesson to everyone watching. The old order is dead. Humanity tried to join you in peace. We offered friendship. We asked for nothing but respect. You gave us genocide instead." He stepped over Varel's body without looking at it. "There will be a new order. Our order. The Human Dominion will rule this galaxy, and we will rule it with the lessons you taught us. Strength is the only language the universe understands. We have learned to speak it fluently." 3 months later, Ambassador Hannah Choi stood in the same hall. But now it was called the Hall of Dominion, and she was no longer an ambassador. She was the High Speaker of the Human Dominion, the most powerful person in the galaxy. Her scarred face was broadcast to every inhabited world. Her voice reached trillions of ears. "Citizens of the Dominion," she said, "today marks a new chapter in galactic history. The species that once ruled this galaxy are now under human protection. Their militaries have been dismantled. Their weapons have been destroyed. They live because we allow them to live. She paused, letting her words sink in. Some have called us cruel. Some have called us monsters. They say we have become what we once fought against. Ow. Her mechanical arm gleamed as she raised it. Perhaps they are right. We did not choose to become this. You made us into this. Every bomb you dropped, every colony you burned, every child you murdered, you were building us. You were forging us into the weapon that destroyed you. She lowered her arm. So yes, we are what you created. And you will live with that knowledge forever. The galaxy will never forget what cruelty brings. The galaxy will never forget the price of underestimating humanity. Her face softened slightly. But we are not without mercy. Those who serve the Dominion faithfully will be treated fairly. Those who accept the new order will find peace. We offer what you never offered us, a chance to survive. Her expression hardened again. God. But if anyone dares to raise a hand against humanity again, they will learn that what we did to the Council was mercy compared to what we are capable of. We have built weapons that can destroy stars. We have ships that can crack planets in half. We hoped to never use them. She leaned forward. Do not make us hope in vain. That night, Admiral Tai Ho Kong stood alone on a balcony high above the city. Earth spread out below him, its lights glittering like stars fallen to the ground. In the sky above, new stars were visible: human stations, human ships, human power. He heard footsteps behind him. Captain Una Park stepped onto the balcony and stood beside him. For a long moment, neither of them spoke.
Ow.
Do you think we did the right thing? Una finally asked. Taeho watched a transport ship rise into the sky. It was carrying colonists to a new world, one of many worlds that now belonged to humanity. Expansion without apology. Growth without fear. The galaxy was theirs. I think about that every day, he admitted. We won. We destroyed our enemies. We built an empire. But sometimes late at night, I wonder if Giwu would be proud of what her father became. Una had no answer. She had asked herself the same question about her brother. We did what they made us do, Taiho continued. Every choice they made, every cruelty they committed, pushed us closer to this moment. They created their own destroyers. He turned to look at her. History will judge us. Maybe we are heroes. Maybe we are monsters. Maybe we are both. He looked back at the stars. But our children will live. Human children will grow up safe. They will explore the galaxy without fear. They will never know what it feels like to be treated as vermin. He took a deep breath. For that, I would burn 1,000 galaxies. Una nodded slowly. She understood. They all understood. In the darkness of space, human colony ships launched toward new worlds. Human stations orbited conquered planets. Human children looked up at unfamiliar stars and dreamed of adventure. A species that had been called primitive, called vermin, called animals, now ruled the galaxy. And the galaxy would never forget the price of making humanity angry.